Hello. In this video, we're going to see how to set up a coreBOS development environment. Basically, that consists of a coreBOS install where we can access the code so we can make any changes that we need to or study anything that is already available in the code, do some tests or whatever, and also access that install via web services and be able to execute all the unit tests accessing the demo data, okay, the test data, okay. Uh, for this video, for this to work, we have to have a Linux, Apache, and MySQL stack, okay, the typical LAMP stack. If I'm not going to cover that in this video, but I suppose we have that in our server, in our computer already working. You're going to need an editor, a code editor, any editor that you prefer or that you work with. I will be doing some examples with Eclipse, PDT, and obviously we need JIT installed because this is all JIT based. Okay. If there's two basic ways of getting the repository, the coreBOS code access ready, and that's either if we have permission to push to the coreBOS repository. Okay, this is, for example, the case of most of the coreBOS developers on the team. They can commit directly to GitHub on the project, so you can download directly from the GitHub URL. That's what I'm going to do in this video. If you don't have that permission, then you have to fork the project there on GitHub, and then you do the same things that we're going to do now, but using your URL, the fork you have, okay? And then you can do all the stuff that everything else, just exactly like the same that we're going to see today. But at the end, if you want to share the code, instead of coming in and pushing it to directly to the GitHub repository and coreBOS GitHub repository, you're going to have to push it to your fork and then emit a pull request, okay? So let's see how that looks. I'm going to drop down to the command line. And I'm here at var www. So this is where this is the root of my Apache, okay, where I have that. So this is where I'm going to start working. The first thing we're going to do is let's come over here again and let's get a link to the GitHub repository. Okay, this one here. This is where coreBOS lives. So we're going to clone that directory. Git clone, and we're going to put that into cbdevel. It could be any directory you choose. Okay, that's downloading. Now the next thing I have to do is control the permissions. Okay, I'm downloading in the root of the Apache directory. That means that Apache must have access to the install. Okay, or else it won't be able to read the files nor modify the files that it needs to modify inside this directory. Okay, when you clone like this, usually, especially on Linux, the permissions will be already granted to the user and the group. The user is the user I'm working with, okay, the one I'm extracting right now, and the group is what I'm going to use to give access to the Apache server. Okay, so let's hold on to this a second. Okay, almost done. And we'll start playing with changing the permissions. Okay, I have a root install tab open here, which we'll use in a moment to change the permissions. Okay, now I have this directory here. If we go into this directory, let's clear that up and use it from the top. Okay, if we see, I downloaded cbdevel. As you can see here, it was assigned to the user Joe and group Joe. Okay, note that the permissions are the user and the group can do whatever they want in there. If we go into the directory and we see the files, you'll see that it's always the same. The whole user and the group can do whatever they want on all of these files. So if I come here and say ch group, which www data is the Apache user, and I've assigned this to Devil directory. Okay, inside the cv Devil, the new directory I just did, and the minus r, hold on, minus r, capital R, so that it will recursively go down all the tree and assign all the files to this group. Okay, so now if we look, you see that all of them are assigned to www data. That means that www data, the Apache user, can now write on tab data or inside storage or wherever they need to write, while the user Joe can also access all of these files and read and write them, which is what we need to be able to work with the repository. Okay. Okay, so that's the first step. Now we have the code. The next step is to actually install this this coreBOS. So let's come over here and we'll install it. And this should be rather easy. Okay, let me see that. Okay, these should be changed. I updated my Apache the other day to my PHP to 7.1, and I haven't modified these values in the ini file. Okay, so it's you create the user and the password. I'm going to put here cvdevil, which I hope I don't have any database with that name. Okay, and it will create it, and it's going to need more permissions to do that. So give it, and I'm going to leave the $, the admin, and the email, this one. Okay. Now that we have the database created, and now it's importing all that information into while this is happening, this is just a normal install. We'll see how that works. I'm going to jump over to my my editor, and I'm going to click on import a new project. Okay, this would be here, import. There are other ways, and it depends a lot on your editor. Okay, projects from a folder. Okay, and our folder is cvdevil. It finds it, and it will now import that, so I can actually access all of the files in that directory, so we could change anything that we need. I can edit here, already see the config inc and whatever. Okay, so I have access to all the files, and I can start modifying them and whatever I need. That's basically, that's the major part of the install. I mean, with this alone, at this point, you are already set up to be able to modify coreBOS and start studying the code and doing whatever you need. There are a few more steps to get it really right, but that's the bulk of the work to be done. Okay, now while we wait for this, we can do one more step. Okay, in the Devil directory, inside the build directory, we have a directory which is coreBOS test. This coreBOS test is empty, and we need to install or download there all the unit tests for coreBOS, so we can do unit test on the install. Okay, the setup on the GitHub repository says that we should be doing. Let me see. That says that we should be doing a sub project and the like, but in the end, that didn't turn out to be very practical. Okay, here the test, it says that you do the submodule and the init and the update, and it does that. That turned out to be rather uncomfortable because we're a small team in general, so we commit directly to the repository. So it's kind of cumbersome to get in doing all the submodules and having to do pull requests all the time. So what we've done is, let's copy this test URL. And the right way of doing this, or the comfortable way of doing it, is coming into the directory, the build directory. We actually delete the coreBOS test directory, and we do a git clone of the repository of test. And actually, we don't even need to put it, because we need it to go into the coreBOS test directory. But that's what it's going to do by default, because that's the name of the project. Okay, so I could repeat this here or not, it doesn't matter. Okay, so now what I just did was eliminate the coreBOS test directory that comes natively with coreBOS, and download the project, the exact project of test from GitHub. Again, this is because I have permission to come in and push to that repository. If I didn't, I would have to fork it and download or clone the fork that I have, and then do pull requests. Okay, which is another way of doing it, depending if you can write on the coreBOS directory or repository or not. Okay, let's see if the install has finished. No, okay, that's taking a while. Okay, let's. Okay, this one is going fast. And this one is. Huh? Oh, okay, I made a mistake here because I didn't switch back to my terminal, to my user terminal. I'm still in the root terminal. That means that this coreBOS test has been given to root, so that's all wrong, and probably the permissions look wrong also. So let's see what's inside. Yeah, and all the permissions are wrong too. Okay, that's nice. Okay, then let's get rid of it. I'll get rid of it completely, and we'll do this the right way with the right user. So probably get the devil, build, and download it again. Okay, while that's downloading, we come over here. Oh, this is taking extremely long. Okay, this downloaded now, and hopefully now we have the correct permissions on the directory, and also inside. Okay, and again, as before, we'll jump back over here and we'll change the group to the whole coreBOS test. Oh, okay. coreBOS test. Okay, perfect. And now we should be able to see this exactly as the. Okay, now we have the test environment installed. It's its own repository, so I can do a git status. It's all good. Git remote -v, and it's pointing to the right place. If I go up a couple of directories and I ask for the remote, this is pointing to coreBOS, and this is the next step we have to do. Okay, if this is finished, let's check if it finished already. And the git status will give us some information here. That is the next step we have to do. Okay, perfect. Okay, let's jump over here. Okay, this finished. And we should be able to log in. Admin. And it should obligate us to change the password. Okay, perfect. Okay, this is working and everything is installed and set up correctly. Okay, I'm not going to continue here because it's not really worth it. we'll see what the next steps are. Okay, let's just log out here. Okay, I can't even log out. Okay. Let's come back over here to the command line. Now, if you see here with the JIT status, it says that there's a series of files and directories that have been eliminated. Okay, the install PHP, the whole install directory, config PHP has been changed, which is normal and logical, and build coreBOS test has also been changed because we deleted it, and okay, those two are controlled. Then we have install, and the whole modules migration directory and tab data. Notice also that there has appeared 3 new files, actually 2 directories and 1 file, which JIT doesn't know what they are. Okay, there's also a couple more which are specific to my editor. Okay, so this is if there's 2 things here. One is that if you can't work here and have these files all constantly in the way. And the other thing is that these files are not versioned anymore. So if we needed to make a change in the install process or something, we couldn't do that either because they're actually not here. Okay. So what you do now is restore these files. Okay. We restore the migration to the modules migration directory, which is where it belongs. We restore the install to the install directory, and we restore the install PHP file to install PHP file. So now, if we do a JIT status, things look much more clean and neat. Okay, notice that this is a security measure because you don't want these to be able to re-executed when you're in production. Okay, so that's correct in production. In fact, if it was a production install, you should actually commit those changes, the elimination of these files. Okay, recover them and delete them actually totally. In this case, we need them around because we need to be able to modify them. We're in developer version, so it has to be there. I usually do not worry about these 3. I always have them kind of just there, and I don't worry about them at all. I mean, I don't even leave them there. I don't touch them. I don't ignore them or anything. They're always kind of there, and I just ignore them mentally, and that's it. Forget about it. Okay, so this is what my development process looks like. Now, if I came over here to the editor and I don't know, maybe made some change in mobile PHP, and let's eliminate this space here and change that. Okay, now if we jump back over to the command line and I do the JIT status again, I see that that file has been modified, and I can see exactly what has been modified, and I can commit it and do whatever I need to do now. Okay, first. So that's basically the first step that we need. Now, the thing is, the next step is that I need to be able to okay, I know what happened here. We need to be able to log in here with demo data, and we need to get up the data so that we can actually work with the unit test also. Okay, to do that, what we have to do is recover the database that's here in coreBOS test. In the coreBOS test project, in the database directory, we have the coreBOS test SQL database. Okay, this is a fully valid coreBOS install with test data. Okay, and it's the test data that the unit tests expect to see and to have to be able to run the test. Okay, so what we do is come over here to PHPMyAdmin, and we pick up this coreBOS Devil database we have here that we created during the install, and we're gonna delete it completely. Okay, let's see if that works. Boy, database is slow today. Okay, we deleted the database, and now we're going to create it again. This is UTF-8, UTF-8 general CI. And now the database is empty, and we're going to fill it up with the information inside the build coreBOS test database. Okay, here is the database. So we load this information into the database that we just created. The idea is that, okay, that's loading. The idea is that you install coreBOS simply to get the config file. Okay, we could have actually manually created the config inc file, because that's the only thing that changed. If you remember here above, when I did the git status, the only change actually is the config inc php file. Well, tab data, we're gonna generate that one again now. So actually, we could have manually set up the config inc php file and directly recover this database into the. That way, we wouldn't need to install. Installing is not really that much of a problem. It usually is faster than it was today here on this machine, and it's always good to install from time to time so that we catch errors that may have been introduced unwillingly into that process. So it's not really a problem. Anyway, both paths are perfectly valid. Okay, now this is installing. Let's have a look here to see what we're doing. Okay, and this is the application, which now doesn't work because it doesn't have a database. And here the database is loading. Let's have a look more or less where it is. And the next, once we have this done, notice that if you remember from our path here, what we're going to end up with is access to the code, which we already have on our eDay. We already have set up, and we're doing the database demo now, test data. We're going to be able to do unit test. We'll do that next, and we need to be able to do access via web service. Okay, so we'll see that next. Okay, this is coming. Very slow today. Let's start doing the web service development here on the TestSolution repository. We find the coreBOS web service development platform application. This application is a test and development platform where you can actually access any coreBOS that you have permission to access, and you can launch web service queries and do a whole bunch of test coding and things like that. Okay, so this is a part of the development suite in coreBOS, and you must have it installed and ready, and you must also know how to use it. Okay, basically it's really easy. While that one's working, I'm going to jump over here to my another console. And again, at the root of my Apache web server, I'm going to do a git clone of this web service development. I'm going to call it WSDevil. And we'll download that. This repository doesn't actually need anything else. You don't have to even change the permissions, I think. If you want to delay, if you want to work or add some test code or whatever, it's also very easy to just do a pull request or whatever. This is a small application. You can see it came down real quick, and we'll be able to access it as soon as this database import finishes. This machine must be doing something today. It's very slow. Let's put that on hold, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, we're back. This finished importing, and let's have a check over here. Okay, now I should be able to reload this. And log in, okay. And that looks a little bit more friendly. If we go over to the organizations tab, we should also have 1,178. Okay, so now we have a whole bunch of information in the application. Now, to get this correctly working, notice that the coreBOS test has about 10 users or seven or eight users. Let's have a look. I have to do the updater also. We have 10 users, and if we look in the users privileges directory, you'll see that there's only one, which is the admin user. So we need the other ones to be able to log in. Also, when you change the database like this, where you actually kind of just hijack all the information that's in the database from an install, a code base, you should regenerate the tab data file. Okay, to do that, we have a couple of commands, which are build in the helper scripts. We have update tab data. Let's clear that up so you can see it a little better. Okay, we have build helper scripts update tab data. Okay, that generates the tab data file for us, taking into consideration the new database. And then we have another one also in helper scripts, which is create user files. And this will also take into consideration the new users in the database. And if everything went correctly, we should have now a whole bunch of files here in the directory. Okay, these should also be set to worldwide data so that they can be regenerated. Yeah, let's do that, which is what. Okay, we have to go into the user privileges directory and change the group of all of these files to www beta. Okay, so that they can be regenerated by the application if necessary. Okay, this should be updated. Okay, now we are actually finished with the coreBOS development application. Okay, we have everything we need. We have the test data. We have access to the code. We have it is totally functional. We have access with all the users. Everything is ready for us to start working and committing and doing pull requests and doing whatever we need. Okay, actually, we should even be able to execute now in the coreBOS directory PHP unit. Let's clear that up also so it's a little bit more clear. This is how you would execute the unit test. PHP -u unit -c. We put the XML file, and that would do them all. Okay. The idea here is that PHP unit is a script. PHP unit is a script which we already have manipulated to load all of coreBOS in infrastructure so that it can access all the classes, everything that's already in coreBOS, so that we can test and any class that we need to execute to test. And then we have a XML file which has some groupings that make it more conceptually easier to do some individual tests. For example, we could do coreBOS test, and we could actually do maybe data CRM entity. Okay, there's a CRM entity test class. We can execute that. And if that worked well, there's only 2 tests and 3 assertions in there, and it worked. Okay, if I omit completely this, it will execute the whole battery of tests that we have. That will probably take a little while also. I'm using PHP 7.1 with PHP unit 7.1. Okay, that means we updated this a few days ago, and so you have to be up to date with your code. That's not going to work on PHP 5 anymore or anything like that. And as you can see, this is happily moving around. Okay, there's some incomplete tests there, which we put just to make sure. Okay, so it did 2,418 tests and 3,742 assertions, and everything seems to be working ready more or less correctly. The last step that we need is the web service interface. Okay, we downloaded this application. We downloaded into localhost WS Devil. As you can see, it just actually just revs up, no problem at all. It asks us where our install is, cbdevel, admin, and we can access either via the password or via the access key. Let's do the access key. The access key is here. It's this one. Okay, let's put that here, and I should be able to log in. And that's it. I'm in. Okay, so now I could actually do. Let's do an asterisk from accounts. So I can actually launch web service queries on this interface and get access to all the information in the coreBOS. We also have some test code in PHP and JavaScript, so we can load, for example, here a test script which also does a query, for example. That one's kind of long. Let's do the lib query. This one is shorter. Here we have a select all from contacts, and it launches, it does the do query, and then it formats that out onto a page. I can execute that, and you can see actually the output here on the screen. And if there was any debug messages, it would be down here. Some of these have documentation. I don't exactly remember which ones, but some of them do have some information there. Okay, and so you can kind of click from one to the other, and it shows you some help. We can also actually look into that. If you see just WSDevel inside this project, there's a test code directory, and for each, for example, the 340 authenticate JS. Okay, no JS, no HTML, PHP, the set related. 424 libs set related has an HTML. See, it has 424 libs set related, PHP, and .html. So if we come over here and look for the set related, 424 set related, and we click on the documentation, then there's some information here that explains how this works. Okay, very useful tool. There's some other utilities here, which is the list types, where you can get all the web service information about each of the modules and the fields that are available and the like. Okay, very, very, very powerful. That's the three things that you need to get working. And basically that's there's one more thing I forgot, which is when you recover the database here, you must always go to the coreBOS updater, load the updates, and apply them. Normally, there's none in this case. Normally, we try to keep up the coreBOS test database. We try to keep it up to date. Okay, so usually that database shouldn't contain any pending updates, but the truth is that coreBOS is moving very quickly, and there's coreBOS updates all the time. So it could happen. You have to come into the coreBOS updater and update, just like you have to update the tab data and the like. Okay, I hope this helps to get you started. Welcome to the coreBOS development team.